What is going on, my beautiful subscribers? If you're not subbed, you're still beautiful, just not as aesthetic as my subs like the stats shows. Anyhow, today I'll be breaking down my pull day workout and tell you the exercises that I personally incorporate in my training to build a wide back and huge biceps. As the name suggests, it's essentially an entire training session that's dedicated to the muscle groups that involve the pulling movements, so mostly vertical pull, horizontal pull, and curling exercises. Since I'm training 6 days a week with a push-pull leg split, I have 2 pull days every week and intend to do one main compound exercise on one of those days, so I place my deadlift on my pull day to avoid fatigue on the other days. Now I do a sumo version of the deadlifts, which places less stress on the lower back and places a higher degree of activation for the glutes and your vastus medialis, which is your butt and your inner quads. Like other deadlift variations though, it still mainly hits your hamstrings and posterior chain. So I start off my pull day with the deadlift since it's the heaviest exercise and I do want to hit some deadlift PRs, bro. Generally speaking, you always want to choose your first exercise with the one you prioritize or on your lagging muscle groups. I do around 3 to 4 working sets for the deadlifts depending on whether or not I want to focus on intensity or volume on that day. Notice that I say working sets, so I do not count my warm-up sets as my working sets. The way I do these is a standard pyramid training, so I start light and put on more weights while lowering my reps. This generally helps me decrease my risk of injury from going way too heavy on my first set, and this is just how I like doing them. So as you can see on the screen, I start with my warm-up sets with a 20 kg plate on each side and just try and feel my hamstrings stretching and feel my legs driving up the bar. The warm-up is incredibly important as it helps me familiarize the movement and to notice small tweaks so that I can change them before hitting the actual heavy working sets. Now if you're new to the sumo deadlift, I'm going to briefly teach you guys on how to set it up. Firstly, you want to have a wide stance with your toes slightly pointing outwards so that when you extend your arms, your elbows should be within your knees. You should try and think of rolling your shoulders back and make sure not to round them as that will cause most of the stress placed onto your lower back. Think about pulling the hips down to the bar and always keep your core tight and braced. Then you want to pull the slack out of the bar so that your initial weight of lifting the weight off the ground will feel lighter and have lower resistance. Think about keeping your hips in the same position without shooting it up and drive your legs upward, pressing through your heels. Lastly, you want to lock the weight out. Now, Jeff Nippert has an amazing video guiding your form and technique in terms of the sumo in detail, so I'll link that down below. Moving on to the second exercise, I do 3 working sets of weighted pull-ups. This is my major vertical pull movement and I find that it is the single best exercise that has helped me grow my back width and overall strength as well. The pull-ups need no introduction as it basically hits all of the muscle groups on the back, mainly the lats, and even activating the rhomboids, your rear delts, and your biceps. I warm up with doing 10 to 12 reps of body weight and then move on to the weighted pull-ups. For the pull-ups, I always use an overhand pronated grip and grab the handles around 1.5 times my shoulder width. I hear a lot of gym bros when I first started out saying that the wider your grip, the more back growth you will see. But that is simply not true as an overly extended wide grip may actually result in injury. I also don't use the pull-ups as my major exercise for bicep growth, so I don't see the point of doing close grip pull-ups since I have seen the biggest bicep growth for me once I incorporated a higher frequency and volume for isolated bicep curls into my training. For my third exercise, I do the machine cable rows for my horizontal pull movement. I alternate between close grip and wide grip, so sometimes it helps with my lat growth and other times it focuses more on the mid-back muscles like your trapezius and rhomboids. It helps even everything out when you lean down and really gives the aesthetic look when the definitions start coming out. Obviously for the vertical and horizontal movements, I do not only do these, but this is what I've been doing for my current training cycle. Sometimes I also do occasional pull downs instead of pull-ups and do machine rows rather than cable. This just shows that you can really do just any variations of an exercise as long as you know which muscle group is activated and you train the one that you actually desire. Finally, on to my last 2 exercises that need zero introduction because you will literally see someone doing this in any gym from Planet Fitness to Equinox, beginner or advanced lifters, ego lifters, or complete newbies, and that is the bicep curl. I do around 6 sets in total because biceps was previously my lagging body part, and I found that after doing a lot of isolation exercises, bumping up the frequency and volume for my biceps has really helped with hypertrophy. First one I do with the easy bar so I can do progressive overload easier, and the other is a single arm dumbbell curl for maximal mind muscle connection and time under tension, as you see on the screen. Sometimes I do face pulls on the pull days, but sometimes I also do it on my push days after hitting shoulders, so it really depends on my mood. But yeah, this is basically my pull workout. There's one thing that I do want to emphasize though, and that is the importance of full range of motion and time under tension when it comes to doing these exercises. Because in the end of the day, it's all about breaking down the muscle tissue the right way and not simply swinging the weights around hoping for a magical growth. For those of you watching that are trying to get in the gym and do these exercises, remember it's always okay to start very light because we all start somewhere. I could barely do a pull-up at first, and it was through progressive overload and focusing on the eccentric movement that I managed to do a full plate of weighted pull-ups for reps now. Especially for isolation exercises. Really feel that squeeze when lowering the weight and don't let the weights drop by gravity. Once again, thank you all again for tuning in, and let's roll the hardstyle, boys.
Sometimes I'm mindless and my mind sits in the bottom of the motherfucking trenches. Don't get it twisted, don't need assistance, but sometimes I just don't get this, cause I crave all this hate from the naysays. I put it all on my plate, never say grace. I'm never solving the case, but I stayed late. You got a problem, meet me at the gate. I sold my soul for plastic gold, I drank the hate up on the centerpiece. Wrist up all the grit, no rest in peace to all of my enemies. Double pump, no remorse, and voices all just sound like shit to me. This that motherfucking double all, I'm on the killing spree. Drown in the water, hold me down in the gutter, never gonna see me right up from the sound of the thunder. Say condescending, y'all stop pretending. Y'all the beauty and the beast when I drop the tempo. Like so many people are so fucking evil. I spoke to the demons, they told me I'm equal, but fuck that, don't put me on your level. I am not like you, I'm not gonna settle. Body bag, got a right tag, I'll be right back. Rip off that